it kind of, it was just basically, we start again. So we've basically made a decision that means we have to start life again in New Zealand. So moving the family here, we didn't think ahead about le fale e ngofo ai o a onga e a onga ia ka maiki o le ale ka o mea ai or what are they going to need? So those things only started coming up when we arrived here.
I didn't want to leave my job, you know. I just made it through that level where I wanted to learn more. But we had to move to New Zealand. And moving to New Zealand, we had no idea of what to expect.
I didn't have these problems when I was in Samoa. Why did I have to move here? Olo ingoa o Tala'i Junior Lene, o te matai le suafa Lea'upepe, ia whapea fo'i le matai le Vaauli-Lene, ia o te sauma le nuu o Falute, le nuu le nao lo tina. My dad's village is Tala'i, and Lepa is where my other matai title le Vaauli-Lene is from. And I'm married, going on to 15 years now. And with 6 kids of our own, and we also have an adopted son. So we've got 7.
Tatou Olaga, o Falute, Vaauli-Lene, o te sau mai le o Vaiala, po tasi fale alili, a wala savai, o nuia o tina, o no Vaauli-Lene ma fale asi, e o nuia o tama.
I grew up in Falute, and so I'm a village boy. My parents didn't have a lot, but they did still kind of invest in me to go to school in Apia. Although they didn't have money, they could have put me in the village school, but they spent whatever they had to put me at a school in Apia, and also for my siblings as well.
I'll say life back in Samoa was very strict for myself. Growing up in Samoa with my 3 brothers, a golden rule in our household was nga ole fale, ole farsa, malea onga. Nga koluanga o mekea I whakanga nga waru ai, whakanga mako ai. That was the normal life for us in Samoa.
The goal was to get a job and help my parents. Success for me at that time was getting my parents out of the village to have their own place, because we were living with my grandparents and everybody else in the village. So that was it for me. If I could achieve that, then I think I've done well. I didn't really think too much about married life and what starting my own family would be.
I was born in America. In 91, we moved to Samoa. My dad held a lot of matai titles, and at the time he felt it was time for him to move back to Samoa to serve his family. He was all about family, and it was very important for him to come back after years. And the call to move to Samoa in 91 is for my dad to serve his village. At that time, it was all my dad's sweat and hard work went into the village. We didn't get much at the time, but you know, he was so dedicated. He would really want everything, all our money, everything from the business had to go and support the village. So during my educational time, I had to finance my own university studies. So three years I graduated while I was working full-time at Origin Energy that supported my uni. But that wasn't where I wanted to head to.
I just got promoted as marketing manager for Samoa. That was me until I realized that all my friends were getting married, And I think after a couple of weddings of being best man, and I was really starting to ask myself, what was I doing? And so I thought, yeah, really need to grow up, get married, and probably start a family of my own. So one of my first projects was to promote the use of calling cards. The guys who were doing the production for a TV ad, they were looking for someone to appear in the TV ad, and that's where I think they got Falute from somewhere to come and be in the ad, and then that's how I met her. So if anything, I was glad that project that I worked with, I got to meet her, and then that's how I got to know her, and we ended up going out, and ended up getting married, and had 6 kids, and we're still together. Look, I think I had my own self goals, but then getting married was a totally different story, because I basically had to live with my in-laws, and had our first kid, second kid, and I think it was then I have to really look, okay, now I need to think about how I'm gonna have a house for my own, to raise up my family. Because I think after the third child, my wife was starting to hinting, when are we gonna have our own place, you know? We're living with her parents, her family at that time. So I started looking at how I can probably achieve that. But by then, I've changed jobs from Samoa to Digicel. So from 2008, it was all about working hard so that we can afford to buy our own land and build our own house, which thank God, I think by 2007, we just took a leap of faith, and we weren't even married, and we decided to buy land. We thought, okay, an opportunity came up at 2007 to bought land, and say, okay, let's go in together. She was working at the bank at that moment. I was at Digicel. We thought we could afford it at that time, and so 2007, 2008, we got married, and by 2014, we managed to kind of get the payment of the land down. And so the bank said, look, you guys can take a mortgage and build a house, which we did in 2014 at Vaauli-Lene. It was very exciting, because coming from the village, moving to Vaitele, that was enough. But moving to Vaauli-Lene, that area is only for, I believe, for the business people. So for us to be able to secure some land and build a house there, to us, it was perfect. You know, we built a 5-bedroom house. At that time, we had 4 kids with 4 boys. So I said, look, let's just work hard and paying this off. As the kids grow, we've got a house of our own. So at that time, I think it was all about working hard. She was working hard in her role in the bank, her job at the bank, mine at Digicel. So there was no plan of going overseas. Everything was good. God was blessing us with everything that we needed to start building our family. So that was 2014, and then for some strange reason, my wife put her name into the New Zealand quota that they offer for Samoa in 2016. She basically put her name in a quota because all her office people were applying, and she said, okay, I'll just apply for the fun of it. And I think she was the only one that came through. Everybody else in the office weren't successful. We were given an opportunity to move to New Zealand at that time. Now, if you ask me, at that time, if I had plans of coming to New Zealand, there was no way I would say yes, because we both had jobs. We just had a mortgage. We kind of sat down and talked, because everybody in Samoa back in the days wants to come to New Zealand. regardless. They want to go to Australia. It's just to get out of Samoa. But for us, we didn't really look that far ahead because we believed that we were fine in Samoa. But 2016, we already had 6 kids by then. So the 4 boys and 2 girls. So the decision to come to New Zealand was based on the kids, giving them a different life than what we were used to in Samoa.
I didn't want to leave my job, I just made it through that level where I wanted to learn more. There was so much happening at the bank at the time. There were international roles, but we had to move to New Zealand. And moving to New Zealand, we had no idea of what to expect.
Well, look, for us, we were shocked first. And I said, what are we doing? We've just took out a mortgage like 2 years ago. We've just moved at our own house. What are we going to do with this? And then I think that's when the kids' conversation come up.
We thought, let's raise our kids up into a different environment, not the way or the life we had in Samoa. We didn't have much. For instance, the technology that's coming through, whether it was a positive or a negative impact on our family, let's just take the opportunity in order for them to get a New Zealand citizen. That was the only thing on our minds at the time, is just to get the citizenship. Well, maybe things will be a little bit easy for us. And then we took the move, came to New Zealand.
The move to New Zealand at that time was all about moving, but nothing about what life in New Zealand, what's the expectation or what the reality would be.
You thought it was the land of the white clouds and, where there's milk and honey.
But I think at times we would have probably said to ourselves, what have we done? We didn't have all this pressure when we were in Samoa, but so we've basically made a decision that means we have to start life again in New Zealand. So moving the family here, as I said, when we got the visas, we thought, okay, that was the biggest hurdle, and got the job. So when I got the job, that's it, we're okay. We didn't think ahead about le fale e ngofo ai o a onga e a onga ia ka maiki o le ale kau o mea ai or what are they going to need? So those things only started coming up when we arrived here, and I realized that when I started applying for houses, I actually also kind of looked at the Housing New Zealand at the time, and I think the waiting list at that time was like, I don't know, something like 10,000 or 20,000 families waiting for a house. So that wasn't going to happen or help us. I started applying for all individual houses, but because I just came from Samoa, I don't have any financial history. All the agents weren't really, all the house owners weren't like, they look at you just arrived in New Zealand. How do we know you're going to be able to pay your rent? There was nothing, there was no record. So that was an eye-opening for me because nobody told me that those are the things you need to have when you apply for houses in New Zealand. Because I'm telling you, nobody will consider you for a job or for a housing, for a bank loan, if you just arrive and you got no records, nothing.
I guess in Samoa, because you had that support system where you had everyone there to help you and at a very cheap rate, In New Zealand, you have to pay for everything, and it was very expensive. And with one income, where Tala'i was the only one working, we couldn't afford a babysitter. We couldn't afford daycare. We had a 1, 2, and a 3-year-old when we came, but the older 3 were able to go to primary school. It was just hard to juggle between if we should do a babysitter or pay daycare. Otherwise, it will be me going to work. And interesting how I tried to find a job in New Zealand. Even though I had 10 years of experience with the bank, applying for a customer service role in the bank in New Zealand, it declined 2 times. And the reason behind that is that I do not have working experience in New Zealand. So I'm like, I want to go back home. It's like my qualification wasn't enough for New Zealand to get a job. And, you know, it was just hard, and it was too expensive for us to take the kids to daycare or hire a babysitter. It was just hard. When I got rejected, I felt hopeless, you know, I was like useless. What am I gonna do to help my family financially?
Over the first couple of weeks, we realized that, you know, the income that we were receiving from my job was not enough to raise a household of 8 people. So early on, we realized that Falute cannot work because the 2 girls were young at that time, even my younger son. So they were all in preschool, and the other 3 boys were just in primary school. So it's impossible for Falute to work so we can get a second income.
I really struggled being a stay-home mom, looking after my kids, spending the time that I missed out with my kids in Samoa. I had to deal with a lot of things, you know, things of being a mom. You know, I think at the time I finally realized that I'm a mother of 6. You have to do everything, you know. I mean, I know how it felt like in Samoa being the only girl in our household. I was responsible for looking after my brothers, you know, taking care of stuff in the house. You know, I had to do, you know, our girly duties, you know, make sure. And then coming to Samoa or to New Zealand, I realized that, you know, you are now a mom of 6. You have to be more responsible now in taking care of your kids. And then, you know, I kind of sat back and thought, okay, now, how are we gonna do this, you know? I just thought, you know, just sit and pray and see, you know, God will provide. There will be something for you to do. So.
Now we moved here in 2017, so I don't know if things have changed with the way the New Zealand immigration facilitates, how people from Samoa who are coming through the quarter can have a better way of transitioning into life in New Zealand in the beginning. Because if you don't start well, you're basically just going to be facing problems, and you're going to think, man, I didn't have these problems when I was in Samoa. Why did I have to move here?
Well, I wanted to help out my husband. You know, how I realized how hard and expensive it was for us to live in New Zealand. Paying rent, you know, paying water, electricity, everything. Every little thing here you have to pay, unlike in Samoa. You know, it was easygoing, very simple. But I just wasn't used to not working, you know. I needed to do something else to relieve me from just looking after my kids and doing the motherly chores.
And from there, we started to think and have a look around what's an opportunity that's there to help us get another income to support the family and raise a family of eight, a household of eight in New Zealand, because the cost of things at 2017 were really starting to come up, and we could notice it with our food shopping. We decided that the best way to supplement or support the family was to have a business that requires Falute to be involved, but while still being a mom. So from home, like something that she doesn't need to go to an office, but she'll be able to work from.
We wanted to build something, anything for me to do at home. Combining our experiences, our work experiences from Samoa, the relationships that we've built amongst a lot of the customers that I served in Samoa. So there's gotta be something for me to do at home, something for me to do in order to serve our people in Samoa. So myself and Tala'i were just talking about the convenience of shopping, what is another way in order for us to make it a little bit easy for our people in Samoa after hours. Everything is closed at 5 o'clock on the financial side, on the money side, the transfer side. What's another way for us to come up with a solution for people to use a service after hours? And then we thought about the voucher system. Everyone's got a phone. So we were just talking about all these ideas, on the ethics side of where I came in and the customer service side, and Tala'i's experience on the telecommunication side.
We finally got down to a concept that we say, okay, what does people do in New Zealand, and what do they do to support their families and home? Back in Samoa, people send money. They send money a lot. So we didn't want to go into another money transfer business, because a lot of our other Samoan entrepreneurs were doing it, and they were doing it really well. So there's no room there to kind of go in and be successful straight away. It requires a lot of probably capital injection, a lot of system setup, and probably a lot of resources as well that we didn't have. But through the grace of God, this concept of having a shopping voucher that someone can just go online and pay for it, and their family in Samoa can use it at a shop, it kind of stuck with us.
And then Tala for Voucher was born in order for people in Samoa to receive a shopping voucher, is just to get a system up for people to buy a voucher online, and they receive it on their phones, and they're able to walk across to a shop in the village and do their shopping.
It was perfect because Falute can support and run the business while at the same time be a full-time mother to our kids at home. And although we didn't make any money with our business partners early on, but as the business grew, and COVID really helped launched us, because while everything was closed, this was the only way people could go and support their family in Samoa, because we were online. So up to today, we're not saying that the business is doing really well, that we've got lots of money, but I can tell you what, it now helps put food on the table, because I still keep my full-time job, and Talofa Voucher and Pacific 40, I help out as well, and it helps with the kids at college, so the cost of school as well has gone up, so it's been good.
We're a very small business, and it's our second income in order for us to provide for our families, communities, our church, all the things that comes with raising a family. it's really hard to find that balance of building a business and raising your kids.
But thank God, we're now the kids are used to. They're in school. We're getting used to life in New Zealand. I've got a job. I still work for Digicel. I feel like I owe them a lot for helping out, not only for working in Samoa. Like in May, it will be 15 years of service to Digicel. So I feel like I owe this company a lot, and I continue to work and serve through them because they've been good to me and my family, and also with the big move to New Zealand. Oh, look, my Samoan culture and my Samoan networking kind of help with our settlement here, because if it wasn't for that community involvement and networking, I don't think we would have been able to easily do some of the stuff that we needed to do to settle. Like I said, the house we got, it was mainly through friends who already settled here. They've got business here. So they helped through an agent that looked after their business stuff to get us a house. New Zealand has changed a lot compared to this. I would say probably that's the case if it was the 60s. But for now, like you can basically speak Samoan everywhere you go now, because you turn up to a bank, it's a Samoan person working there. You go to a restaurant, it's a Samoan person who runs the restaurant. So it's important that we keep our culture and our language alive by everyday life in New Zealand, because now the second part of that is when you go back to Samoa, because I've just seen it. We came from Samoa. All my apart from the two girls who were babies at the time, my 4 boys could speak Samoan really well. But at the moment, there's only 2 of them who fully understand and speak. The other 2 are sort of like mainly English. But the reason was because when we arrived, I said, look, you gotta learn your English, because that's how you're gonna survive through school. But then while they were pursuing to learn English as fast as they can, us as parents didn't do enough to kind of maintain their Samoan language, which unfortunately 2 of them, and even the young girls have kind of lost it. So now we're trying to set some rules in the house to speak Samoan in the house, just to kind of help maintain that.
Us coming to New Zealand, we just spoke Samoan. E foi la siap whangau e kau kakala i le nganganga. O lea lawa o keling mako mai i mea le loku. E kalangoa whakawha Samoa i sisi ngai ke i lo o le Samoa. Makua i lost. Like they don't speak the language at home, and I feel so sad about it, because you're Samoan, you should know how to speak Samoan. And and every day in our household, I still speak Samoan to my kids. But because of the influence in the classroom now, they're slowly losing it. And I don't want my kids to lose their language, their identity. It is something that they will carry on forever. And they will be identified as a Samoan. So that is one thing that I will continue to do now that we're living abroad, is to maintain the language in my household.
Mata sa